Hi everybody. So if I sound a little off, it's because I'm recording this at night and I'm very tired because I got out of work and then I was playing with my nephews for a couple hours. Well, two of my nephews anyway. I have three. But yeah, I think it's time for another collection video. But first, let me just build up a bit because there's a number of anniversaries this year in the gaming industry. The one that most people are talking about is the 35th anniversary for The Legend of Zelda, but, it's also the 35th anniversary for Kid Icarus and Metroid. It's the 30th anniversary for the Super Nintendo, the North American version anyway. As I've said a million times on my channel, it's my favorite console of all time, so because it's the 30th anniversary this year, in August, I believe, I'm going to be doing a video on that at some point, probably like the end of the summer or whatever, since that's when the system launched originally. But it's the 20th anniversary for when Sega pulled out of the console market. The 20th anniversary for when Microsoft entered the console market, with the original Xbox. And it's also the 20th anniversary for the GameCube and the Game Boy Advance, which brings me to this video. It's part of the reason I wanted to do this video. For the, it's my Game Boy Advance collection, which obviously you would know because you clicked on the title. But, yeah, Game Boy Advance released 20 years ago in March of 2001, and here comes the cat. I got mine for Christmas that year, along with, which I still have here, the original, the Glacier one, as they called it, along with a, like I said, I got this all for Christmas in 2001. One of those connector things, remember they had that whole daisy chain thing? This carrying case, which a cat puked on. I need to see if I can clean that. And 3 games, which I'll point out as I get to them. I think that was all I got for that year. But anyway, getting to the point. Where was I going with this? Well, whatever. Let's just get to the game. So, some of the games I have in here. Others I have in here, which I actually took out. This is a good way if you're want to get into like collecting like Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, etc. games. This is a good way to store them. You just get a binder and some card sheets. It's a good way to store them if you don't want to like put them on like a shelf or whatever. Like it looks, I don't know, or if you don't have like the boxes or anything. But anyway, let's get to the games. First one is Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland, which was a remake of I think one of the NES game or something. But this was actually during a time where I really started becoming more of a Kirby fan, but that's a whole other story. And Yoshi's Island, which was Super Mario Land 3, Advance 3. That's actually, I'll get to that again in a second. But yeah, this was a port of Yoshi's Island. Super Mario World / Super Mario Advance 2. It was a updated version, a port of Super Mario World. It was funny, at the time, I think that was like in the spring of, it was the spring of, or like March, spring or whatever of, because my birthday is at the end of March. It was like the spring of 2002. My brother had got me that for my birthday. It was something I was really excited about, or it was on my like wish list, and he had got it for me. Here we go, Super Mario Advance, this was one of the games I got for the system for Christmas. It's basically a port of the original Super Mario, or a remake of Super Mario Bros. 2, but it also has Mario Brothers. And then, like I said, Super Mario World was Super Mario Advance 2, and Yoshi's Island was Super Mario Advance 3. Because they all have the classic Mario Brothers game on there. And it was kind of cool about this is that they actually, like, added voices to the characters and the enemies, like the bosses and stuff. Like, so, for example, Mauser, I believe his name is, like, not talking about the enemies from Ninja Turtles, but Mauser, the boss in this game that has, like, the sunglasses, throws bombs. Like, when you throw the bombs at him, he goes, like, da 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 da, as opposed to the other game, the original NES game, where he just went, like, and then Claw Grip, that, what the hell do you call it, the crab guy who he like throws boulders that when you throw him at him, he goes like, ow, 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 ow. I just always thought that was kind of funny. Oops. All right. Next is Bomberman Tournament, which I talked about in my top 5 Bomberman games video that I did a while ago. This is definitely my favorite Bomberman game of all time. Funny thing, I remember renting this from Blockbuster, and because it's pretty much like The Legend of Zelda, and you also have like these creatures that you collect called Carabons, which they're in other Bomberman games too, but that's a whole other story. But you know, like I said, this is kind of like Legend of Zelda. Like obviously there's the battle mode, but you know, the story mode or quest mode is like Legend. You know, it's an adventure type thing like Legend of Zelda, and use the Carabons basically as like how you would use tools in Legend of Zelda. In this, you use the Carabons, but such a great Bomberman game. Amazing soundtrack. Like, I don't know. It's like probably one of the best soundtracks on the Game Boy Advance, which, you know, I actually forgot to mention this. The Game Boy Advance is my favorite console of all time. Or my favorite handheld of all time, sorry. But yeah, great game. And this one, which I have a case for because I'm pretty sure it's a reproduction card. I'm like 95% sure it's a reproduction card. Pretty damn good one too, though, and that's Tiny Toon Adventures Buster's Bad Dream. It's a Tiny Toon Adventures beat 'em up game, which is actually kind of interesting. And I'm pretty sure the reason I'm like almost positive it's a reproduction card is because the real thing is rare and expensive. The next one is Final Fight 1, which is a port of the classic, you know, arcade SNES Final Fight game, the first one. I remember this was one of the first games I bought. I remember it was in I think like also the spring of 2002, probably maybe before. I think it was like actually I think it was shortly after Christmas, like right in the beginning of 2002, like around January 2002 or something. In the early 2000s, my brother, I think I talked about this in another video, my brother and I would go to Circuit City a lot, and he would buy like a game for the PS2, I'd buy a game for the Game Boy Advance. So like in this case, I bought this, and he bought, I think it was either Jack and Daxter or Half-Life. It was one of those two games that he had bought. And this one I think I got for Christmas one year was Super Mario Bros. 3 / Super Mario Advance 4. You know, it's a port of the classic Super Mario Bros. 3 game. We have Final Fantasy VI, you know, port of the classic game, which originally was called, well, it was always 6, but, you know, the Super Nintendo, the North American Super Nintendo version was called 3, excuse me. Final Fantasy V, which originally wasn't released outside of Japan until, you know, around this time, but that's a whole other story. This was another one of the games that I had gotten for Christmas with this system, Wario Land 4. This was the first one I had ever played of these, but you know, I know there was one for the original Game Boy, maybe 2, and I think there was 2 for the Game Boy. There was either 1 for the original Game Boy and 2 for the Game Boy Color, or 2 for the original Game Boy and 1 for the Game Boy Color, and then that one for the Game Boy Advance. Then, I probably should have done these all out first. Mario Kart Super Circuit. I remember this was the other one I got for Christmas. This is one of my favorite one of my favorite Mario Kart games of all time. I remember this was like when I was in junior high, around the time of this, when I had first got this system. And I remember on Cartoon Network, this was like when I had my family didn't have Cartoon Network until this point in time. And I remember every Sunday night they had a show called Toonheads, which was like a documentary about like classic Looney Tunes shows. Like each episode, like there was an episode about Foghorn Leghorn, one was about Tasmanian Devil, and etc. But it was a show, you know, obviously a show like that is kind of outdated because there's, you know, things like YouTube and stuff. But at the time, it was pretty interesting. And I remember, like, there was times where I'd have it on in the background. I'd just put this game in and start playing it. But yeah, that was pretty cool. This one, kind of interesting. It's Pokemon Leaf Green, which, you know, was like remakes of the classic games, Gen 1 games. When these came out, I wasn't really crazy about them. I mean, I wasn't really interested, but this one, my brother had actually, long story short, let's just say he found it somewhere and he gave it to me. One thing I will say, though, I love the style of the Pokemon Game Boy Advance games, like the mainline Pokemon Game Boy Advance games. And Lufia, Ruins of Lore, I believe. This was there was more of these games. There was 2 for the Super Nintendo, one of which I have on my SNES Classic Edition. And I think there was other ones that weren't released outside of Japan. Maybe, I don't know. But this was my first experience with the games, and it's very underrated JRPG series. I highly recommend checking them out, even if you have to use like emulators or whatever. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of the physical games are kind of pricey. I don't know about that one, but I know the Super Nintendo ones are up there. Then we have Fortress. This is how can I explain it? It's kind of like a puzzle building game. Like you build like a fortress, and then you try and destroy the other person's fort. It's hard to explain, but it's a very fun game. Now, these are all the games that I had in my binder that I actually took out. So the first one is Metal Slug, or Metal Slug Advance, which is kind of cool. Always loved the Metal Slug game, so it's kind of cool having one on the go. Teen Titans, nice little action platformer based off the cartoon series, based off the comic book line. Teen Titans 2. Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, which I remember my brother and I both bought this at Best Buy at the same time. And I think I remember around that time seeing this there. It's Pokemon Pinball Ruby and Sapphire, which I haven't gotten around to playing yet. But I always wanted to play that one, even though I never... Even when I bought it, I still haven't played it. Rock and Roll Racing, port of the classic, like, SNES title. Lady Sia. This is a neat little action platformer. This was a game that I remember... it was one of the games that I wanted to get when I was, like... I remember... Because, like I said, the Game Boy Advance launched in March of 2001, and then it was probably... You figure, like, March to December, like, 6 months or whatever, so I had to, like, wait, like, 6 months to get mine for Christmas. And, I remember, like, looking at, like, every time I went to, like, Walmart or something, I'd look at, like, the game case, and it's like, okay, so, I actually made a list of, like, the games I wanted to get. This was one of them, just because I thought it looked kind of cool, and years went by until I did finally end up getting it. I think like a few years ago I bought it, but it's a very good game. You have neat little action platformer. Kind of reminds me of Xena. Not the game, but like the show. The story reminds me like the show Xena. And then we have some Shrek, Swamp Kart, something. It's like a Mario Kart Shrek game. This was another game that my brother found along with that Pokemon game. Pokemon Ruby version. Which, I loved, like, it was just, like, the style or the gameplay. I think it was just, maybe the graphics was the best way to describe it, of the Pokemon Game Boy Advance game. I just love that, like, style of those games. Fire Emblem, which has another name. This was, so a lot of people refer to it as Fire Emblem 7, because it was the 7th game in the series. But it was the first one to be released outside of Japan. Golden Sun, one of the first games I bought. To be perfectly honest, I never finished this game. I know a lot of Golden Sun fans are probably going to be like, oh, because this is a very beloved franchise. And I don't know why I never finished it, because it's a very good JRPG. And it's another franchise that I'm sure a lot of people would love to see a new game from Nintendo. Onimusha Tactics, this was kind of like a whim buy. I never really got into the Onimusha games. I think I had loosely heard of them here and there. I remember there was one that was kind of like a Smash Brothers game that my brother had rented, so I had known of them, like, so to speak, and I had played that one. I was like, I just kind of bought this one on a whim, and it's actually a pretty good game. A strategy game, tactical RPG, whatever you want to call it. Speaking of which, here's another strategy game. Shining Force, port of the classic Genesis game, and a very good one, I might add. It's, the characters are more detailed, which, the character redesigns, I feel like, they're kind of like, some of them I like the versions of them in this better, the other ones I kind of like better in the other version, and some of the characters, like, talk about, like, more unique things, like one of the elf characters, Diane, talks about, like, some of the other beast tribes that are out there, like, there's ones that are, like, chameleons. There's ones that are like mice and stuff. Because around the time you get hers when you get Xylo, the wolf guy, who was always one of my best characters. But yeah, very good remake of the original. The original is great too, but that's also a good one. I would love to see a new Shining Force game from Sega as well. Mario Pinball Land. This one I bought a few years ago, like on a whim. I just thought it sounded kind of cool, or I thought it looked fun. This was another whim buy. Metabots, Rokusho AX, something like that. I don't know. But yeah, this was... Never played it, but I always loved the anime series Metabots, so I was like I saw this at like BJ's or something. I think it was like on clearance or something. I was like, what the hell. And the last one is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue Team. This was when these first started coming out, because I remember these came out... it was the fall of 2006, where it was like, now available on, coming to the Nintendo DS is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team, and then it like showed like the gameplay and stuff, and it's like, it's like, buy it now for your DS, and it's like, also available Red Rescue Team for the Game Boy Advance. So I was like, oh sweet, I'll get that, because I didn't get my DS till like that upcoming spring, which was 2007. But yeah, I played the crap out of this game. It was so much fun, which talked about it in a lot of videos. So I'm not gonna go into details about what the game is about. But I always loved these games. I always thought they were a lot of fun. If you're unfamiliar with them, like I said, I'm not going to go into details, but they're basically a cross between Legend of Zelda and Pokemon. Like, it's like an adventure RPG type of game. They're a lot of fun, and it was kind of sad because this was, at least to my knowledge, this was the last first-party title to be released for the Game Boy Advance, and it was also like the end of an era because, Nintendo was moving on from the Game Boy line and moving on to the more DS line. But yeah, that's my Game Boy Advance collection. So thanks for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. Maybe even hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your week.